Hi, my name is Madeline Harper. I'm 27, and for as long as I can remember, I've always tried to do everything right. I work as a marketing manager at a growing firm in Chicago, and I'm proud of the life I've built on my own. But last night, everything I thought I had was shaken. It started as a normal dinner at home. My dad, Richard Harper, has always been controlling, but I never expected what he would say. "Maddie," he began, his voice sharp, "you're going to quit your job to take care of your brother Ethan, or you're out of this family. No more Harper privileges for you." I froze. My heart pounded. I've been the responsible one, paying my own bills, climbing the career ladder, dreaming about independence, and now my entire existence was being threatened by a single ultimatum. My brother Ethan, 22, who has a mild developmental delay, looked down at his plate, silent, while my mother, Karen Harper, sat there quietly, not intervening. I felt a wave of anger, disbelief, and betrayal crash over me. How could they just erase all my hard work, my dreams, my life for the sake of control and family duty? It wasn't just an unfair request, it was a threat to my very identity. As I stood there, gripping my fork so tightly it almost bent, I realized this wasn't just a disagreement. This was a breaking point. Something had to give. Either I obeyed and lost myself, or I fought back, risking everything. Growing up in the Harper household was never simple. My dad, Richard, had high expectations, but they were never really for me. They were for Ethan. Even as a little girl, I noticed it. Birthday parties were always about him, his achievements celebrated endlessly, while mine were cute but quickly forgotten. My mom, Karen, wasn't cruel, but she was distant and critical. She often praised Ethan for small accomplishments while pointing out what I wasn't doing right. "Maddie, can't you be more like your brother?" she'd sigh, shaking her head. Even my grandparents seemed to favor Ethan, telling him he was special, capable, and that I should learn to help him more. I spent my childhood learning to anticipate everyone else's needs, making lunches for Ethan, helping him with homework, and suppressing my own desires. I loved my brother, of course, but love shouldn't feel like a life sentence. I remember being 10, clutching a crumpled drawing I had made for a school contest, while my dad dismissed it, saying, "Ethan could never make something like this, but it's not for him anyway." Even friends noticed. I became the invisible responsible one, always dependable, quietly sacrificing myself for the family. I worked harder than anyone else, hoping for approval I rarely received. By the time I graduated college, I had internalized the unspoken rule. My worth existed only through service to others and mostly to Ethan. It hurt, deeply, but I also learned resilience. I developed a sharp mind, ambition, and independence, but those traits were always overshadowed by the expectation that I'd ultimately serve my family without question. That expectation is exactly what brought me to the dinner table last night, heart pounding, facing an ultimatum that felt all too familiar, yet far more dangerous. After college, I moved to Chicago and started my career determined to prove myself, not just to the world, but to my family. I wanted to show them I could be successful on my own. I worked long hours, sometimes skipping meals or sleep, just to meet deadlines and exceed expectations. I thought maybe, finally, they'd recognize my effort. But nothing changed. Every phone call home was a reminder that my achievements didn't matter unless they aligned with Ethan's needs. My dad would call, "Maddie, when are you coming home to help Ethan? You can't just abandon him." And every time I tried to explain my work commitments, my voice cracked with frustration, met with impatience or silence. Even my weekends were stolen. I flew home for birthdays, helped Ethan with tasks no one else wanted to do, and handled household responsibilities while still juggling client meetings. My friends, like Jessica and Lauren, tried to understand, but it was hard for them to grasp a family dynamic where the younger sibling was considered more important, no matter the situation. I remember one night, lying awake in my small apartment, staring at my laptop, exhausted, my eyes burning from weeks without rest. I thought about the promotion I had earned, the savings I was building for my future, and yet my phone buzzed, a message from Dad. "You'll quit your job for Ethan, or don't bother coming home again." It wasn't just the words, it was the implication that my entire life, everything I worked for, was disposable. I had tried everything, sacrifices, patience, compromise, but nothing was ever enough. My achievements were invisible, my independence threatening. Every fiber of my being screamed for freedom, but my heart ached for my brother. I was trapped in an impossible equation, love versus survival. And yet, no matter how much I loved him, the tension kept rising. I could feel the walls closing in, the suffocating grip of my family's expectations tightening. Something had to give, and deep down, I knew the breaking point was closer than ever. The confrontation happened the next evening. I had just returned from a grueling week at work, carrying the exhaustion in my shoulders, hoping maybe this time, my dad would show some understanding. But as soon as I walked through the door, Richard's stern gaze pinned me to the floor. "Maddie," he said sharply, "you have a choice. Quit your job to take care of Ethan full-time, or you're disowned. That's final." I felt my stomach drop. "Dad, I can't just—" I began, but he cut me off. "You don't get to negotiate. You've been selfish long enough. Ethan needs you. We can't wait for you to figure out your own life. Decide now." My mom, Karen, sat silently, her eyes avoiding mine. Ethan fidgeted with his fork, pretending not to hear, but I could feel his guilt radiating toward me. No one defended me. No one acknowledged the sacrifices I'd already made. The room seemed to shrink, the walls pressing in as the words echoed in my head. I thought about my promotion, my apartment, my future, all of it dangling by a thread. The unfairness, the betrayal, and the suffocating expectations erupted inside me. I stood, hands shaking, tears blurring my vision. "I can't. I won't," I whispered. "I'm not quitting my life for someone else's convenience." Richard's face hardened. "Then you're out. You're on your own." I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I simply grabbed my coat, my bag, and walked toward the door. The slam of it behind me was deafening, a thunderous punctuation to years of silence, sacrifice, and pain. For the first time, I felt both terrified and strangely liberated. Walking out that night, I had no plan, only a desperate need to reclaim my life. I didn't look back. Over the next few weeks, I took deliberate steps to disappear from the Harper orbit. I sold most of my belongings, closed my apartment lease, and withdrew from all the family groups online. I refused calls and texts that carried guilt or demands. I moved to Portland, Oregon, a city I had always admired from pictures, but never thought I'd live in. The streets were unfamiliar, the air smelled different, and yet, for the first time in years, it felt like freedom. I found a small apartment downtown, furnished it minimally, and started fresh with a part-time job at a cozy marketing consultancy. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. The first months were hard. I wrestled with doubt, loneliness, and guilt for leaving Ethan behind. But slowly, I met people who valued me, not for what I could do for them, but for who I was. My coworker Lila Thompson became a friend, encouraging me to set boundaries and rediscover joy. I joined a local book club where I met Rachel, a woman who reminded me it's possible to nurture relationships without losing yourself. I started journaling every night, recording thoughts and emotions I'd suppressed for years. I allowed myself to dream again, small things first, a weekend hiking trip, attending a professional workshop, then bigger things, saving for a home, planning vacations. For the first time, I felt like I was building my life for me, not for someone else. Through the struggles and small victories, I realized my worth wasn't tied to my family's approval. Every phone call I ignored, every step away from manipulation, made me stronger. I learned that survival sometimes meant walking away, even from those you love, to protect your mind, heart, and soul. Portland became my sanctuary. Each day was a small triumph, a brick laid in rebuilding the person I had almost lost in the shadows of family demands. For the first time, I smiled without guilt, planned without fear, and lived without apology. It didn't take long for the Harper family to notice my absence. At first, it was subtle, missed calls, brief texts, but soon the tactics escalated. My dad, Richard, started spreading rumors, telling relatives I had abandoned Ethan and was selfishly pursuing my career. Cousins and distant family called, some confused, some judgmental. Then came Karen's half-hearted attempts at reconciliation. She sent messages through Ethan, apologizing vaguely. "We're worried about you, Maddie. Maybe we overreacted. Ethan misses you." The words felt hollow, like an attempt to tug at my conscience without truly acknowledging the harm they'd caused. Richard tried a more manipulative approach. He called one evening, claiming a health scare, painting a dramatic picture that if I didn't return, Ethan would never forgive me. I felt the old guilt surge, but something had shifted inside me. I no longer allowed myself to be trapped by fear or manipulation. Every message, every call, tested my resolve. I could have caved, I could have run back to the safety of familiarity. But now, I was stronger, independent, and clear about my boundaries. I blocked manipulative numbers, limited contact to necessary updates about Ethan, and refused to compromise my new life. Through this, I realized something crucial. Leaving didn't make me heartless. It made me human. I loved my brother, yes, but loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing your entire identity. Family could no longer dictate my worth, and toxic ties could no longer hold me hostage. Even as the Harper household spun tales to pull me back, I stood firm. I was no longer the invisible daughter, the silent caretaker. I was Madeline Harper, finally living life on her own terms. Looking back now, I can see how far I've come. Leaving my family wasn't easy. Nothing worth doing ever is, but it was necessary. I've built a life filled with independence, meaningful connections, and, most importantly, self-respect. Portland, with its quiet streets and supportive community, has become a place where I can breathe and thrive. I still love Ethan, but my love no longer comes at the cost of my own dreams. I've learned that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. Family isn't just blood. It's proven by love, respect, and support. And while the Harper household may never fully understand my choices, I've learned that I don't need their approval to validate my life. My journey has taught me that breaking free from toxic expectations is not a betrayal, it's an act of courage. Each step away, each boundary set, has strengthened me. I am no longer the girl who sacrificed everything for the sake of someone else's comfort. I am a woman who honors her own worth and her own dreams. To anyone watching or listening, it's okay to walk away. It's okay to choose yourself. Sometimes, survival means leaving the familiar, the expected, and even the people you love, to protect your heart and your future. And in doing so, you discover the most powerful love of all, the love for yourself.